For all things great iron and hard top, it's Kev Lewin's decent to Sandbox.
Since the Sandbox fans, what is going on? We are back. All of our YouTube fans, we appreciate the love. Make sure you guys go down, hit that subscribe button, that like, put on that notification bell, because you know you're going to want to watch more of us. Today we got a really interesting episode. We're talking about the NFL players going into next year that are in a make-or-break year. And guys, I think there are definitely a lot of quarterbacks that are in this scenario. So I'm going to throw out a couple that I had written down here. I know you guys have some quarterbacks that we want to talk about too. Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, and then two elite names that I think are honestly in a make-or-break year. Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray.
I have that's my whole list.
Is it? Damn,
bro.
All right, let's dive into it then. Why not? Let's see.
Yeah, so just starting off with Sam Darnold, honestly. With Carolina, I mean, they didn't risk much to go and get him. You know what I'm saying? But he only has 2 years to prove his worth to them, because if not, I don't think that they're going to, be like, oh, Sam Darnold, we can just draft somebody else. They gave up peanuts to go and get him, So I definitely think that's why he's in a make-or-break year. And how coincidental, Daniel Jones, the other side of New York. There's no more excuses. Our offensive line is definitely better. It's not great, but it's definitely better. Our wide receivers are more on the great side. Evan Ingram, last year was his most healthy year.
Yep.
Saquon's coming back healthy this year, and the Giants have big expectations, and if Daniel Jones doesn't fill those shoes, whether he does that exceeding expectations or the Giants just get there win-wise, however it goes, I think it's definitely going to put him in an ugly scenario.
Yeah, I agree. I think both those dudes are under the thumb. But I think Rodgers in the weirdest situation because I feel like the organization's more under the pressure. I feel like this is make or break for them. Do you get him the pieces? Or
is he out?
Or is he gone? That's it. And you have to put Jordan Love in a situation where he might not be ready a season ahead of now. And that really sucks because, where is he going to go? Who's going to pay him that? He is the highest cap hit in the league.
I really don't know, what you could tell off of Jordan Love already.
Yeah.
That could say, oh, we need to think about replacing Aaron Rodgers within the next 2 years. I feel like the Packers are a team that always beat themselves because they're so worried about their pocket, but it just never gets to the case where they can get to the promised land. I mean, what was the last time they were there? 2009?
Yeah.
And their wide receiving core was nasty. Now they have one good receiver that if he plays 12 games, you're okay with that.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, I definitely agree with you saying the Packers, but I mean, if someone's offering you a first and change for Jordan Love because he was a high first-round pick and he got some experience with Aaron Rodgers, why wouldn't you do that? Make that investment for your team now. I don't think Jordan Love ever at his point in his career will be better than Aaron Rodgers.
No.
Not many people will.
That's exactly what I mean. So why try and run from the scenario and try and prepare yourself better for what's next than worry about now? Because we're seeing all the teams that worry about now, like the Bucks, like the Chiefs. If we go to basketball, like the Lakers, like the Nets. Those are the teams that are the biggest threats and contenders.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I honestly think it's crazy that maybe I'm just biased, but I think Wentz is on the biggest leash, I would say, out of them all, just because they're not going to replace him if he's not great this season.
Yeah, you're right. He definitely has a 2-year window, at least.
For sure. And then at least they could say, oh, well, we're going to sign everyone back. We didn't spend really any money in cap this year. You signed Darius next year and Quentin. Lock them up. And then you draft the pancake machine. But then you draft offensive weapons.
Oof.
And then there's no excuse then. Because now you have the O-line, you have the running backs, you have the QB.
The defense.
And you just need the weapons.
Yeah.
But I do think he's on the shortest leash because they have not the most invested, but they have on the upper echelon of all the guys you mentioned, they have some of the most invested. But besides, I'd say Arizona and Green Bay.
Lou, do you think Frank Reich has a 2-year leash?
I think he's got more.
Do you?
Yeah, I think he's got way more. Just because everything he's done outside of the luck thing, he's done right. And then just everybody loves him. You know what I mean? It's not like they're flopping in a way. If they keep going 10-6 or 11-5 and just lose just close to say the Chiefs.
You think
the
they're
Ravens.
content with that?
Yeah, I think they're content with it with him.
Yeah.
But then there's got to be something done.
Yeah.
I think he has at least 3 years left, but I think Wentz has a 2-year leash. And after 2 years, it's you cut it.
Yeah. Very interesting. No, I think Wentz is definitely interesting, and I feel like he might not have the most pressure in this scenario because he hasn't played for the Colts yet.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think this next person that we're going to talk about has the most pressure, and that's Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No excuses, baby. No excuses.
And Cliff Kingsbury. What else do you need?
Mm-hmm.
You were given a Hall of Fame wide receiver, a future Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had the deepest wide receiver. Andy Isabella was a high draft
and James
pick.
Conner was a great pickup too.
James
I love that
Conner's
pickup
a great
for them.
pickup now. Last year they invested $7 million in their running back position, and their best running back was a guy that was making less than $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter where you're investing the money. You need the right guys in the building. And J.J. Watt's definitely a step in the right direction to have the right guys on the defensive side. But as far as offense goes, I mean, Kyler Murray's talked about having the potential to be the best quarterback in this NFL. But I think we're getting to the point where we're actually going to see that he's not even going to be a consistent top 5 if he keeps on having the flaws that he does throughout the course of the year. And I'm not sitting here hating on him after 2 years because I think he's a great talent, and I think he's a lot better than a lot of other quarterbacks that we talked about. Kyler Murray's probably the second best quarterback we talked about on this list after Aaron Rodgers, obviously. You know what I'm saying? It's just you have D-Hop, Larry Fitz, and your coach that played for you in college. What else could you want to fall into place for you? You have the best sack getter in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball. You know what I'm saying? It just painted perfectly for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and I feel like it's like, where do they go? They don't have a ton of draft picks. They don't have a ton of money now. So it's just like they have to move him and then get pieces for him and then restock because JJ's old, Chandler Jones is old. I mean, D-Hop's getting up there. So, I mean, in 2 years, he's not going to be the same guy he perennially is. So, yeah, it's definitely make or break. Can't have these little tic-tac injuries.
Tic-tac.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, like what was it last year? Like, he had like a sprained ankle or like something with his foot and like then his hand. And like when he was hurt, like he wasn't the same guy for that stretch. And like
after the Bills game.
Fourth in the division's not going to cut it anymore. I don't care how good it is. You can't cut it, especially when Seattle's going through what they're going through.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. And with all the quarterback talk, because I also had Kyler Murray on my list, but I also have another quarterback that neither you mentioned, and maybe it's a stretch, maybe it's a hot take, but I feel like for his career, this is a big season for him, and that's Matt Stafford. Because I feel like now he just really doesn't have any excuses. I'm not saying he has to go out and win a Super Bowl, but he has to go out and make the playoffs, and he has to go out and be competitive in the playoffs, and there's no excuse why they should have not at least 9 or 10 wins. There's no excuse. They got the defense. They got, obviously, we know they got the offensive weapons, and if they can do what they did with Jared Goff, I tend to think personally that Matt Stafford's the better quarterback throwing the ball. So there's no excuse now. I mean, especially like you said, with the shape their division is, I mean, even if San Francisco does go and get Justin Fields, like, are you going to trust him right away to make a Super Bowl run? Who knows? So with the flaws Seattle has with Arizona and Kyler Murray and all those question marks, like there's no reason that they shouldn't come out and if not win the division, at least be number 2 in the division.
I honestly think you're selling it short. I think the expectations are higher. I think the expectations for the Rams are like 12, 13 wins.
Well, even more. Yeah, well, that's
in a 17-game season.
Yeah, exactly.
So I definitely feel the pressure there, but I don't think it's like.
And I feel like a lot of Stafford's career, it's always been like, oh, he's had no weapon. Like he had Calvin, but like he's never had like a really like a serious like contending team. And now it's like, here you go, you have it.
But I don't think it's like, oh, if Stafford doesn't do it this year, like they can't do it next year. I still think Stafford's young enough where the Rams could have a 2 to 3 year window if they can replenish that O-line. Because I mean, there's no way Whitworth can be playing left tackle at 41 years old. He's just at like a huge disadvantage.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So I definitely think that's something the Rams will look to invest in, but it's really tough when you don't have your first pick for the whole tenure that Sean McVay was here. So that's definitely an interesting thing, but it's kind of, I don't want to say it's worked out for them. They've made it to a Super Bowl, so that's obviously good. I mean, they've hit on a lot of their guys, and I mean, they're a team that's always in the top 10 teams in football, you know, at least arguably, but we saw that they wanted to put more of an emphasis on that, and that's why they got rid of Jared Goff for sure. To go off of the quarterback position, I have a couple other guys that I wanted to talk about. Lou, feel free to jump in with me because I know I took up all your names. Sorry.
QBs are off the board.
On the defensive side of the ball, I know that you're going to be with me, and that's Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, how many more years are we going to say, like, oh, Jadeveon Clowney's a top 10 free agent. He's going to get the bag. he ain't getting the bag. He can't even play 6 games. I mean, it's good that he got in a scenario with the best pass rusher in the NFL. But if you can't succeed and get 8 sacks this year with him being opposite of you, then you're not going to be making $2, $3, $4 million. You're going to be fighting for roster spots at that point. And that's supposed to be his strength.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because he turned down like a $30 million deal from the Browns last year to go play with the Titans on a prove-it deal. And then he ended up going to the Browns for a prove-it deal.
Yeah.
Like a 1 year. I don't know. I think he's still overpaid. Again, yeah, Steve, if he doesn't do it here, his career is pretty much practice squad and third, fourth guy on the depth chart.
And just third
really
down
over.
scenarios.
Yep.
Pretty much.
All-time bust, too.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
All-time bust.
Wow. More than Russell?
It's close.
Yeah.
It's close. But that dude wasn't watching game tape. They were legit giving him empty tapes. And he'd be like, yeah, no, that was a great play right there. The play action.
Hey, imagine.
They were like, dude, there was nothing on that tape.
Man.
That's horrible.
Kid, they could have put a wedding video on the tape, and he wouldn't have known.
So my last guy, Steve, this is your boy. So I'm interested to see what you think.
Man.
And I guess, I mean, you could argue maybe he's not at that point yet. Maybe you could argue his make it or break it season already passed him. But for me, Odell Beckham needs to come out and have a good season, and he needs to stay healthy.
I think Odell's best football is behind him.
Definitely.
I think his best football was on the Giants.
Easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, see, but I feel like he could still be very beneficial in the right system.
not
But
I
just
don't know.
after 3 leg injuries,
True, that's
on,
true.
on both different legs, I'm
That's
not
true.
saying Odell can't come in and still be an elite receiver because he definitely can be, and he's definitely still, even just his name is one of the biggest threats in all of the NFL. You know.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that the expectations of Odell Beckham Jr. being a 15, 1,600 plus receiving yards receiver is way past over.
Yeah.
I think if Odell was to get you 1,100 yards and play play 15 games, I think you'd be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like that would be a good season after what it's been.
Yeah.
Realistically, because leaving the Giants, he left the Giants not playing his second to last year, missing actually his last year missing the last 4 games, and the year before that was the broken leg, so he only played the first 4 games.
Yeah.
So I mean, he hasn't played a full season since probably 2017 when we were arguably fighting for playoff spots with Eli Manning still.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was my biggest thing about Odell was he was the whole time complaining about being with a Hall of Fame quarterback. In my defense, you guys can have your own opinions about Eli Manning. I think he's definitely going to be in the Hall. More Sherlock to be in the Hall than Julian Edelman. Let's say that.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that that was his best chance to be himself. I mean, he was on top of the world. He was on top of New York, and we loved him. And it just went the wrong way, and so did everything else for Odell. To be honest.
Yeah, and it's just it's the optics of it too. It's the Browns had their best season offensively in years, best season period.
And he wasn't even healthy for it.
Yeah, and it's and they were better when he left. They weren't good to start the season.
Yeah.
He gets hurt, they gets better, and then if he comes back and they're not the same, then it's he's an actual problem. Not in the locker room, but on the field.
Yeah.
He just demands the ball so much, and they're looking for him that the offense doesn't flow as well, and it could look really badly, and then all his trade value goes
Yeah, and
down.
I feel like that's more along the lines of what I want to see. I want to feel I feel like I want to see Odell come in and be on a team where he plays, even if he doesn't play the full schedule, plays say 13, 14, even 15 games, and they're good. You know what I mean? I want to see him prove that he's not a cancer to a team, pretty much is what I want to see from Odell. Because right now, that's kind of what he is. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what he's known for. But if he can come in, he doesn't have to be a crazy, he doesn't have to be a D-Hop elite talent, a Devontae Adams. But if he can come in, be a number 1 on a bad team or a number 2 on a decent team and have a decent season, stay healthy, and just keep his mouth shut, then that's what I want to see.
So I definitely think that Odell's a player that would benefit more from being on a scrub-ish team rather than a good team because, I mean, he's someone that would be in an offense that would be pass-heavy because they'd be down a lot in the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that he took advantage of a lot on the Giants. And his best year was when we actually did make the playoffs.
The Bengals?
So. No, but a team that I think his expectations can be better with. What if Odell went to the 49ers?
Yes.
I feel like he could exceed the expectations that I just said for the Browns if he was to stay healthy. If Odell played 15 games for the 49ers, I think he could really sniff 1,300 receiving yards.
Yeah.
Because he he would be the guy in that offense. Not that Kittle wouldn't be it, but he's just that type of a player in that scenario. You mean if Kyle Shanahan had that type of a talent, you know he would do it like
justice.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's more about, like you said, like coach and culture. Like if you get him a good culture where like he can't just be the show.
OBJ,
like
New England.
Yeah.
Billy B.
In a way, yes.
Not without Brady.
Yeah, exactly. but like if he went to any team like San Fran, the Rams, I think Green Bay wouldn't fit because LaFleur's too young. Maybe Tampa.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think Green Bay would work better than Tampa.
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if you hear Week 7, OBJ has been released and signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Too much money to their wide receivers.
Then he'll be with Bruce Aaron drinking Mai Tais on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
come on.
Collecting rings from the goat.
He needs discipline. He needs discipline and a quarterback that he respects to keep him in line. Like, if he went to the Bengals, he'd walk all over everybody.
Yeah.
Be Chad Johnson 2.0.
Unless there's some LSU love.
Yeah, maybe.
But he's obviously a lot older than Joe Burrow. But actually, while we're on the wide receiver talk, guys, someone that I think's in a make-or-break year, this is a wide receiver needy team in the NFL, and that's the Ravens. So Hollywood Brown. I mean, how is he not in a make-or-break year? I mean, what has he done to live up to his high expectations of a first-round pick?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's just not been a number one. I think they need someone else. And then he could be a great 2, but he's going to have to prove it. But if he can't prove he's going to be a great 2, then he's just going to be another quick receiver who, you know what I mean, who's always going to be trying to fight to be Emmanuel Sanders. Ooh. Really.
I think Emmanuel Sanders, that would be successful if he ever turned out to be that.
No, but I'm saying, like, the ceiling of him would be like Emmanuel, and, like, he was drafted so highly, especially above, like, A.J. Brown and DK, so it's just, like, those expectations. But I think he's good. I hope he pans out. Like, I'd love to see the Ravens good, but we'll see it. We'll have to see, man. I like him, but I think they need a big body guy.
I hear you. Now, my last one, guys, I can't do this list without talking about some defensive guys.
Obviously.
Jaylen Smith, linebacker for Dallas. I mean, he's definitely someone. How could we talk about Dallas being such a team that I'm pretty sure Dallas is in the top 10 for over-under wins this year.
Yeah.
And their defense is horrid.
Yeah, it's really
Their defense is horrid. Jaylen Smith, I mean, he's definitely somebody that overcame a lot, with that injury in his college career. I definitely think he came back and was a successful player in the NFL. But if your defense is letting up like 120 rushing yards a game and you guys were letting the Giants score on you pretty much like throughout the season, I definitely think that defense needs some work. And I know they invest in that linebacker position a lot, but this is definitely someone that's make or break.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually have one more guy that I think is make or break that I can't believe no one said. I think it's going to be Cam, honestly.
Yeah.
Because now that they have the weapons, he's been there a year, they're healthier, they have all the opt-out guys back. And if you can't make a playoff spot, his whole value's done. The career's over. He's going to be a backup for the Bears forever. Like, seriously.
No, you're right. You're definitely right. Kev, what do you think about Cam?
I mean, I just feel like he kind of like already done. That's my thing.
No, but like, will his career continue is based off this season.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It absolutely
But
is.
I feel like even if they do have a successful season, I still don't see him playing more than like another year or two. Like, honestly. Just because, like.
We'll see. We'll see, Kev.
We'll see. Wow, kid, no aim.
That's where I aim for. But, guys, that's going to wrap things up for this episode of NFL players in a make-or-break year. You guys make sure to go check out our podcast, guys. We got a bunch of content coming out for you guys this week. A lot of draft coverage, got a lot of ball talk, so make sure you keep up all things since the Sandbox. Go to our website, get your merch, and make sure you guys are following us on social media at sincethesandbox.net. The link is down in our bio below. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, put on that notification bell, and leave our podcast a 5-star review, because if it ain't 5 stars, guys, we don't want it. Peace out.
Damn straight.
For all things great iron and hard top, it's Kevlar and Since the Sandbox.